Welcome, fellow listeners. Welcome to the first episode of Breamers. I'm Meme.
I'm Bro, podcast where we talk about random topics and events that we can think of. Every episode is a mystery waiting to be uncovered by you, awesome viewer. Today, we'll be talking about the play entitled King Lear, written by the ever-popular English William Shakespeare, renowned as one of the greatest writers and the world's greatest dramatist. Alright, to meme, there are different types of players, right?
Yes, of course.
You have tragedies, comedies, and even tragicomedies.
Right.
In that case, what style of play was King Lear written in?
So the play is written as a tragedy where the protagonist,
Is the same as the main character, if I'm correct?
yes, the main character experiences a great downfall. Usually a significant number of people pass away at the very end. These plays usually follow Aristotelian conventions.
Oh, you mean Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher and the scientist?
The same one.
Oh, I never knew he was interested in theater.
He really was interested in theater.
So earlier you said that the tragedies are based on Aristotelian conventions. What can you say about them?
Well, basically, famous Greek guys said that a tragedy had these main parts. Firstly, the tragic hero has a fatal flaw called hamartia. This will lead them down a path of self-destruction and turn of fortune called peripeteia. This invokes a feeling of pity for them called pathos. After this, the characters accept their fate of doom, which is called anagnorosis. When the protagonist dies, the audience experiences a catharsis or emotional release.
Oh, that's cool. So I've heard there's usually a fool in tragedies. They the ones that make fun of themselves.
Not necessarily. They are the ones to interpret what is happening in the play.
Oh, interesting. Though, while researching the play, I found that the play was written around the 1500s. Wasn't that the time when there was lots of political turmoil in England?
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I couldn't fail to notice that King Lear also has political themes to it. The political turmoil in England affect how Shakespeare wrote King Lear?
That's actually incredibly good how you noticed that detail.
Thanks.
Anyways, answering the question, the entirety of England was in political distress. First it was Henry VIII.
I really sympathize with Henry's wives. Actually, a rhyme that was taught to me in school to remember what happened to his marriages.
And what might that rhyme be?
Divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived.
He's cruel, and that rhyme there would help me with my statement about political turmoil in England. First, Henry VIII split Catholicism and made his own Protestantism branch. You can imagine how much that would divide a country.
Oh, does he ever think about his consequences of his actions?
Luckily, the next successor, Elizabeth I, fixed this division. However, she had no heirs as she had never married.
Oh, she never wanted to marry?
Yes, some historians said she chose to value the security of England over marriage.
Oh, I see. Thanks, meme. Carry on.
Anyways, King James became her successor and he adored peace and unification. The first time the play was shown, it was the day after Christmas, which strengthened the views of James that peace and unification were of the utmost importance and therefore loved the play.
Are there any more political or religious views that Shakespeare incorporated in his plays?
There is, at the time, people greatly believed the great chain of being, which is basically a hierarchy with God being at the top, followed by the king, then the nobles, then aristocrats, then the powerless peasants. According to God, this hierarchy must be maintained or else the world will end in chaos and turmoil. They also
Aha!
believed in the divine right of kings, where the king was chosen by God and that whoever hurt the king was also hurting God himself and it was a mortal sin.
Ah, that's ironic.
What do you mean by that?
Since in King Lear, he willingly gave some power to his daughters, would have went against a great chain of being, which would have ended in chaos. The audience would have known this and ultimately would have strengthened James' view about unification.
Such a great observation.
Are there any more themes in the play?
There are. Shakespeare made certain to add Christian ideologies to the play by comparing Cordelia to Jesus, who was pure and asked for forgiveness but still dies.
While reading the play, I found there to be many inconsistencies. The play was based on a real King Lear. Real King Lear was a pagan. In fact, he made the people refer to gods, which would have strengthened the paganism.
Exactly. That is what makes the play an interesting story to analyze.
Folks, that's all the time we have for you today. Once again, I'm Bra.
And I'm Meme. And that's all for you awesome listeners on our very first episode of the super mega awesome podcast, Breamers.